then we need to get about being stronger and smarter for the future and realize that this world is not safer when the United States of America appears to be weaker. This world is more dangerous when our country appears to be weaker. And we can never let that happen, and some of our colleagues here in the United States needs to learn that. This is going to be not a war of bombs. This is going to be a war of will that we have to win over whatever period of time. Over whatever period of time that it takes, my friend. And that calls for leadership. That calls for us coming together in the ways that we've always done in the past. We've had troubles in this country in the past. We've had wars in the past. We had a terrible civil war. We had a Great Depression in this nation. Things haven't always been rosy, haven't always been successful. But one common denominator was that we all pulled together. Ultimately, the leadership came together and did what was necessary, hitched up our belts and did what was necessary, realizing that there's more in common that we share than there are these petty divisions we spend all of our time concentrating on. We've got to do that again. We've got to do that again. First, we've got to realize the nature of what we're dealing with and the fact that it ain't going to be solved tomorrow or the next day. We don't like to hear things like that, but it's the truth. And frankly, I think the American people are ready to do what's necessary, and they've got to be called upon to do what's necessary. But the first, as we face the future, leaders have got to be prepared to do what's necessary. When you talk about national security, one of the biggest national security issues that we face is right here at home. We're having a big debate now over the immigration bill. People say it's dividing our party. I think to a certain extent that's right. I don't think it'll always be that way. I think we got to have our honest disagreements and honest opinions and then move on. Some very good friends of mine is on the other side of this from where are on the other side of this from where I am. That's all right. We're adults. Let's air our views and decide what's best for this country. The bottom line is not what's best for one party or another or who's going to get the most votes when the dust settles. The bottom line is what's best for the strength and the long-term endurance of this country. And this immigration bill is not it. We are catching, over a period of years, thousands of illegal immigrants coming from the southern border that are not Mexican. Many of them come from terrorist-related states. We were just talking earlier. I remember, and there's a figure that stuck out to me. It's the year 2005. We apprehended over 1,000 folks that originally had come from Cuba. They're coming from Cuba. Where else are they coming from? And I don't imagine they're coming here to bring greetings from Castro. We're living in the era of the suitcase bomb. We can't be talking seriously about national security while that's going on. We're catching one for every 3 that we don't catch, they say. That's our government's estimate. You can imagine what the real ratio is. So that's, in 1986, we were offered a deal that we'll grant amnesty for a certain amount of people and we'll secure the border. Well, now they're coming back and offer the same deal. And basically saying that we want you to deal with 12 million now, and this time we really mean it, we'll secure the border. And the American people are saying, fool me twice, shame on me. And they're saying, no, but it's right here in the bill. I mean, we're securing the border. And they're saying, I don't care if it's in the bill, secure the border. Don't write it in a bill. Nothing else can be dealt with until that is done, and the American people are trying to get that message across. Some folks try to make us feel guilty. Some folks like to portray us as knuckle draggers, Neanderthals, and so forth, you know. This is a country that issues 1 million green cards every year. That's double what it was back before early 90s. Gone to 500,000 to 1 million now. You know, we're naturalizing 500,000 people a year in this country. Does this sound like a country that's closed its borders off, you know, and not letting anybody in under any circumstances, even those who play by the rules? Of course not. Of course not. We see people come in, and some very, very dear to us, like members of the family, who play by the rules, come in, become wonderful American citizens. We welcome them. They become a part of us. And then it's all our home. It's home to all of us. And it is our home. And we get to decide who comes into our home. And it's not fair. Several 100,000 people waiting around the world, embassies across this land, trying to play by the rules. I'm told that it takes 15 years in Hong Kong to get a green card nowadays. There are people here with their children not here, still waiting. Those are the people that I'm concerned about. Administratively, we're about 4 million backlog behind in terms of trying to deal with what we've already got on our plate. 4 million change of status cases. We can't dump another 12 million or however million it really is on top of that administratively and be able to cope with it. We've already got a 24-hour rule. If you can't prove they're a terrorist within 24 hours, you got to pass them. And well, exactly. Exactly. That well-run model of efficiency, the federal government now says that they can work that one out just fine. And it's, you know, the dogs ain't eating the dog food when they put that one out there, and they got a lot of work to do. We've got a lot of work to do as a country. And some of it is a constant battle. Not going to be solved overnight. We've got to start moving from the wrong direction to the right direction. We've got to turn this battleship around 1 foot at a time. The growth of government. Seems like in a democratic society, it always is a struggle to try to keep some semblance of sanity and control over the sheer growth and competition and layering one bureau on top of another. We've seen it happen in Europe. We've seen the results they're getting over there with their economy. It leads to waste, fraud, and mismanagement. People in over their head, computers that don't talk to each other, departments that can't pass an audit, so you can't keep up with what you're really spending and what you're really ordering. Department of Defense is one of the worst problems, sad to say. It has to do with procurement issues and getting the right stuff to the right people at the right time. About as important as it can get. It all has to do with the inability of government to do some basic things. A lot of that has to do with the growth, the continued growth of the bureaucracy, which is a fight every day in the world for folks who are concerned about it, as everybody who we send to Washington should be. The tax battle. If there's one thing that you'd think that we could all agree on in this country now, is the beneficial effects of low tax rates. And yet, you know, at the end of 2010, Democrats want to raise the taxes again, do away with the lower tax rates. Doesn't have anything to do with the fact that they're causing unprecedented growth in this country. Doesn't have anything to do with the fact that we get more revenue this way than we'd get otherwise. One day last April, the federal government took in more money than the history of the country. Doesn't have to do with any of that. It has to do with who gets to divide up the pie. Instead of trying to make the pie bigger for everybody, they want to sit there and divide up and take from this and give to that and think that's going to grow the economy. Of course, they want to target tax cuts to the rich. I got some advice for the middle class. When they start targeting tax cuts for the rich, don't stand anywhere near the target.